it's been such an incredible day, and I was sitting at the back hearing Claudia. Before that, I heard Narmada, and I heard Eliza. I missed the earlier two because I was busy getting dressed for you. Thank you. Thank you. But as I was listening to them, I was thinking, you ladies, how much you have taken in today, because every woman's story that you heard is like taking in a pill that is so potent. You could hear one story a day, and it would take you 3 days to digest it, right? Gosh, you have had so much thrown at you today. And beyond a point, it can feel overwhelming. There's like water off a duck's back. It just can't take it anymore. Like it just, right? So what we're going to do after I make my presentation is just really empty the cup so that you can go and sleep tonight empty, and we will have taken in the new beginnings that we believe we are ready for. So what's my session on? The Dance of the Five Elements, Your Heroic Journey to New Beginnings. And this is the book that this work is based on, Shakti Leadership. You mentioned the other book, which is My Cancer is Me, The Journey from Illness to Wholeness. That book was written after my husband's diagnosis of colon cancer at the age of 40, and how we made the journey to his recovery. And then I set up an integrative medicine practice, and all the case studies from that became the book. After that, someone said to me, Nilima, you need to write your own book. I said, yes, you're right. So that is Shakti Leadership, which is very much the heroine's journey that I have made, and I think it's every woman's story. So we all know Joseph Campbell and his amazing book, The Hero with 1,000 Faces. It's a great map for leaders facing challenge and driving change, okay? There's so many steps. There are 17 steps on his journey, but let's bring it down to 4 stages that you can remember very quickly. We all know it begins with a crisis. You're suddenly shaken out of normalcy. As I'm calling this out, please pay attention to where is this your story, because we have all made the hero's journey and the heroine's journey, okay? You can't be sitting in this room without having made your journeys as well. So in my case, crisis, suddenly husband diagnosed at 40 with cancer, the children are 11 and 8 years old. What does life hold, right? You're thrown into the underworld, the water world, the deep end. The above world is all earth and solid ground, and you know who you are and where you're going. Now suddenly, you're treading water. You're traumatized, you're coming to grips with an unfamiliar world, but there are also allies, and there is a mentor like a Gandalf who shows up in your life. In my case, it was Father Lancy Pereira, my professor, a Jesuit priest from St. Xavier's College many years ago, who said to me, I'm coming via Germany. I can spend 10 days in London with you, and I can teach you all I know about integrative medicine approaches to cancer. So that's how my journey began. Then you have to face your worst fear, your shadow. That is that nadir point, like there's nothing worse than that, but that's the one thing you have to face. And in our case, it was the return to India and starting life again. But when you do that, there is transformation, right? You discover your greatness, and you start developing new capacities you never knew you had. So we wrote this book, started this integrative medicine practice, and My Cancer is Me came out of it. So that's the gift. You don't just sit with all this learning for yourself. You have to then share that elixir with the world. So the book became the gift, the elixir that we shared with the world, and now it's a coaching practice called Cancer Awakens. So that's its own story. But today I'm going to share with you the other journey. Okay, let me quickly tell you Arianna Huffington's story, those of you who don't know it. She went through her own heroic journey. She finished her HuffPost and made a lot of money, and then she was so stressed that she just found herself falling, and she cut her face, and she was in a pool of blood, and then she discovered that this cannot be any way to keep living. So that was her crisis moment, her trauma moment. But what she came out from, and how she came out from there, was she discovered, much like us, she discovered all the good stuff about well-being and resilience and so on. And then it's about creating she says, creating a culture of burnout is opposite to creating a culture of sustainable creativity. This is something that needs to be taught in business schools, and she started her organization called Thrive Global, changing the way we work and live. So right here is a real-life example of someone who takes their crisis, takes their trauma, and then turns it into a gift that they bring the world. So what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger, right? So do women journey differently than men? Guess what? Maureen Murdoch wrote the incredible book, I highly, highly recommend it, called The Heroine's Journey, A Woman's Quest for Wholeness. And essentially, the 4 stages, if we again bring it down, are there is a crisis, typically a loss of power or a violation, because the girl has been a good girl in the patriarchy, she's played by the rules, she thought she was safe, and yet she isn't, right? There is some sort of a seduction trauma or something takes place, and she's thrown into the underworld. There's trauma, she's coming to grips with limiting beliefs. Women are inferior to men. Women are dependent on men, someone's daughter or someone's wife as identity. And most of all, women are incomplete without men. You have to wait for that knight in shining armor, and then he comes and kisses you awake. Then, Sleeping Beauty wakes up. So you're waiting forever for someone or something to come into your own, right? So these are limiting beliefs that you have to really come out of. What does she have to do? She has to slay the dragon of feminine inferiority. We are not inferior. Guess what, right? And then there's transformation. You discover the necessary qualities, that Shakti, that innate divine power is within you. The gift that you bring the world is your own freedom, and then you find a belonging to a new tribe. You discover, once you come out of the patriarchal tribe of other women like you discover there's a whole lot of free women floating around you never knew existed, right? Now here they are, it's like, wow, I found my new tribe, and I don't need to play by those old rules anymore. So this is the 4-stage heroine's journey. So I ask the question, do we have to go through crisis and trauma? Really? Is that the feature of the design? Why can't we change the design? Why can't we evolve and grow and come into our fullness without having to go through crisis and trauma? So here's a quick one. Await the evolutionary impulse. Sense the aridity and the blockage of your life force, your Shakti. Have you ever noticed life has become a little too comfortable, a little too same old, same old? That's when you know, call to adventure will come. Instead of waiting, you wait for that impulse. Life will rise from within yourself. It's a felt sense. And once you feel that, spandan it's called in Sanskrit, you willingly allow yourself to die in some way. And it's called the death of the girl, the death of the childhood. It involves presencing your shame, your grief, your rage. All that comes up because you discover you kind of betrayed yourself all this time. But then you have to accept and lay your loss to rest. That requires grieving. All healing lies on the other side of grieving. And then there is resurrection into womanhood. This means becoming your own mother and your own beloved. Your own mother is becoming your own caretaker, making sure no one else violates you. Becoming your own beloved means validating yourself for the amazing being you are and not waiting for someone else to just, keep giving you those compliments and then you're waiting for that, right? So you become your own mother and your own beloved. This is called resurrection into your full-blown womanhood. And then the gift that you bring the world is inclusion, which is the power to hold the whole in an empowering way. You become the egg. I'm in my menopause now, and they say, until then you are producing eggs. Now you become the egg. Right? You become that powerful container that is capable of holding all the craziness of life and all the other beings, regardless of gender, who are making their journey as well. right? You've made the journey. Now you can hold space lovingly, right? And empower those people as they make their journey. So you hold the whole in an empowering way. You know how to include it all. And that is the gift of the feminine. So, journey's key takeaway, the only way out is through, meaning you can't avoid the journey. Okay? You have to go through the death and resurrection. And the only way out is in. Right? The only way you're going to come out on the other side is go within and find that innate power, your Shakti, within yourself. Let's dance the journey of the 5 elements. Let me tell you how the 5 elements cycle, guess what, is very much the hero's journey again and again. So, you've all heard of the 5 elements. There's earth, there's water, there's fire, there's air, and there's space, right? Think about it. When you began the journey, you were on earth. Then you were thrown into the deep end, you're treading water. And what do you have to go through? Fire of that complete dissolution, that death. You've got to burn yourself down. And then you come out on the other side, back up into air, right? This time you're breathing the full and free breath of life. And then you have to stand on earth as this potent new creature. From air, we also take ourselves into space, which is that final, like they say, all rivers ultimately reach the ocean. Let these 4 elements guide you into the nothingness, the emptiness, the shunyata of space, so that as you wait there, the next desire of life for itself catches hold of you, and then you can descend back down the other way, right? So we will deconstruct through the gross all up to the subtle, and then we will reconstruct ourselves from the subtle. Find your intention, that which you now want to become, right? Use these elements to create your new journey, your new self. You bring that intention into the air element, you fill it with soul, fill it with love. You bring it into the fire element, you burn yourself down, including that intention, so it's really purified, like that wonderful samurai sword, okay? It's made really strong. You bring it into water, you give your intention sufficient adaptability and flexibility. Now you're ready to bring it into earth and anchor it all the way down into your embodied self, right? So we go through earth, water, fire, air, and space. We have deconstructed fully, and then it's like we die to all the old patterns that were stuck in each of these elements by giving ourselves to them to emerge out of them. And then we find who we want to be, the new beginnings that we're here to receive and take away from Win, and then you bring that back down as the embodied new you, right? So, just quickly, this is who we are. Join us, become a Shakti leader. We have all kinds of courses. We have a fellowship program with San Diego that Win is a co-certifier in. We have flows called Kovo in Russia. We have master classes online, study circles online. We have the Shakti Kumbh Mela, which is, I don't know, have you heard of the Kumbh Mela? Kumbh, the largest gathering, spiritual gathering in the world, but it's never been for women, okay? So the world's very first Shakti Kumbh is taking place in Rishikesh, the world capital of yoga, from the 12th of Feb to the 5th of March, and we will have, again, the very first integral yogini teacher training course. Lots of yoga teachers, but no yogini teachers, right? So now you get to learn from these ancient Indic knowledge systems how to become a yogini, how to activate the Shakti from within yourself. So lots of good stuff keeps happening. Check out shaktileadership.com. Our mission is to build 100,000 Shakti stewards who collaborate to create peace, prosperity, and beauty through the exchange of multiple forms of capital. And here is the email IDs of myself and Raj Sisodia, who's my co-author. He's the co-founder of Conscious Capitalism, if you've heard of that. So he and I have written this together. So on that note, let's dance the 5 elements.